point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 586th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey and Tom Fennell. Tom is not here again today. Okay, here I am. We had I'm going to apologize if you're getting this a little bit late. I don't want to accuse Gremlins of having sabotaged the show, because I wouldn't want Gremlins to be angry at me unfairly. I don't know that they actually did it. However, we did have an issue, and it meant that the show had to be re-recorded. The first picture we've got, I should say, this show is made up of articles that are posted at my blog, geoharvey.com. It starts on the 8th of August and will run to the 14th of August. If you go to the description of the show online, you'll find a link that you can follow to a website that lists just the articles that are used, along with the pictures for them. So let's start. The first picture that I have here is a picture of a German highway with a solar array on the left. It almost looks like the roof of a building, but it isn't. A set of buildings. It isn't. And I doubt that the people driving the cars can see it because they appear to be sunk below the height of that. They can probably see it from a distance somewhere. I don't know much about that road, but the article that we have here is from Renew Economy. The title is, "Electricity from large solar arrays with batteries is now cheaper than from fossil fuel plants in Germany. Electricity from large ground-mounted solar PV systems, such as the one you see there, combined with batteries is now cheaper than that generated from fossil fuel sources in Germany, researchers from the Fraunhofer Institute for Solar Energy Systems have found." Now, this is pretty interesting to me. One thing to note here, and I think many people don't understand this, electricity from solar systems and from wind that are backed up by batteries, and you don't need a huge amount of battery backup to do this. Usually 4 hours worth is sufficient. But backed up by batteries, they become what is called near firm. And near firm solar, near firm wind is actually pretty reliable, and in fact probably more reliable than from fossil fuels or even nuclear. Each type of energy has got its pluses and minuses, but the electricity from solar backed up by batteries is in fact pretty reliable. All right, I'm going to go on to the next item here. We have a picture of the Atalante vessel on the top of a Costco shipping heavy transport. I'll read the title and the synopsis and then discuss what you see here. Cable-laying vessel comes to play its part in empowering New York's $6 billion renewable power HVDC link. According to Costco Shipping Heavy Transport, the Kangshen Ku semi-submersible heavy lift vessel has completed transportation of the Atalante cable-laying vessel from Karlskrona, Sweden, to New York. Now, what you're seeing there is two ships. One ship is blue and white, and that is the COSCO Shipping Heavy Transport Kangshen-ku, which is a semi-submersible heavy lift vessel. Semi-submersible means that they can throw switches, open valves, do whatever they have to do, and it's going to go down into the water. The bridge, which is in the forward part of the ship, practically over the bow, will stay above the water line, but the ship will submerge slightly, leaving the red and white ship that is on top of it in the water, so it can go off to whatever it's going to do. The reason why they do this is that that red and white vessel is a cable-laying ship. It is not intended to be out at sea 1,000 miles from land. It's intended to be someplace where if they have a problem coming up with weather or something like that, it can get into port and stay there and ride things out. It's not a ship for the rough sea. The blue and white ship, which is the Kangshen-ku, is, and I'm sorry, I know I'm mispronouncing the Chinese. I just don't know how to pronounce it properly. That blue and white ship is intended to go out in 1,000 miles, 2,000 miles from land. So that's what they did. They took the red and white vessel, which is the Atalante, across the ocean from Karlskrona to New York City. And that will be laying cable from the offshore wind systems for New York City to New York. Okay, the next system that we've got, there it is. This is a picture of a wind farm. This is CTV News, and that wind farm the picture was taken by a person who goes by the name Typical Albanian. And I've never met an Albanian I thought was typical. So this guy is a real rare character. Okay, the title is US, India, Russia, and Japan are building out wind power much too slowly for climate change, a report says. The world is falling well short of a promise made at global climate talks last year to triple the amount of wind power, a report by Ember says. The world committed to tripling wind energy by 2030, but it's on track to double it. Now, what that means is that if you think of this, that means that it's on track to have 2 times as much wind power when the promise was made to have 3 times as much wind power. Since we currently have one time the amount of wind power that is currently here, getting to 3 times is going to require that we increase the amount twice as fast as we are currently doing. And that may sound like it's a lot. Well, it is. But we've got to get, we've had the 10 hottest years in history have been the last 10 years. Every month from June of 2023 through July of 2024 was in the hottest 14, no, I shouldn't say it that way. Every month in that was the hottest month for its name in history, with the single exception of July 2024, which was just a tiny bit cooler than July of 2023. So it was the second hottest. We've got a problem with climate change. This is not This is not a hoax. This is real, and we're all feeling it. The statistics on it are just crazy. You know, an entire month in which every single day went above 105 degrees in Phoenix. How do you account for that? We've got to address this, and we've got to address it very quickly. Okay, we're up to Friday, August 9th, and I've got a different picture for you. Whoops. There we go. This is a picture of Mali, M-A-L-I. If you don't know what that is, I will tell you. It's a country in southwestern, it's a country that is in Western Africa, and it is mostly in the Sahara. I don't know exactly what city this is that we're looking at. It might actually be the capital. I just don't know. The story comes from MoneyWeb. The title is Climate Crisis Hinges on Green Power for the Poor, Study Shows. Okay, a study of the world's 72 most energy poor nations, of which 44 are in Africa, shows that they will need to deploy about 5,000 gigawatts of generation capacity by 2050. 5,000 gigawatts of generating capacity is the equivalent of about 5,000 middle to large sized nuclear power plants. That's more than 10 times the number in the world today. The people in these countries use an average of 1/11 of what Americans do, but demand is growing. Now, that might sound like, I don't know, it might just sound like hooey. I don't know. But the thing is, these people, of whom there are many, have to be among those who change away from burning fossil fuels to using renewable energy. And that means if they need help doing that, that's what has to happen. Because we've got to move everybody, not just people in Arizona. We have to move everybody. And if we don't move everybody, then everybody suffers. And that's just the way it is. It's the nature of the situation that we're in. Okay. The next picture that we've got, we had, this is from ABC News, ABC, American Broadcast Corporation. The title is Debbie Live Updates. Flash flooding targets North Carolina and Virginia. Debbie, which weakened from a tropical storm to a tropical depression, slammed the Carolinas and Virginia with heavy rain. The heavy rain will target Maryland, Pennsylvania, Western New York next. There's a significant risk for flash flooding in these states. Well, truth be told, that's exactly what happened. Debbie weakened to a tropical depression and was moving so slowly that it kind of hung out over the Carolinas and Virginia while the rain fell. And of course, the rain fell and the rain fell and the rain fell because the storm really wasn't moving very much. And there were places that had just incredible amounts of rain, upwards of 12 inches of rain. And when that happens, you have flooding. That's just the way it is. One of the things that people have noted about the time that we're in of climate change is that these big storms tend to slow down much more than they used to, apparently. I don't know why, but they do. And, in Hurricane Harvey, however many years ago that was, there were places in Houston that flooded badly that were not even in 500-year flood zones. How do you make sense out of that? Well, times are changing. Okay. And by the way, I should mention this picture which was in North Carolina. The building was not destroyed by hurricane force winds. It was destroyed because the tropical depression, not even a tropical storm, but the tropical depression was enough to foster tornadoes. So this house was hit by a tornado, and it looks to me like it's just total wreckage. I don't know, there may be things in there that'll be salvaged, like grandma's silverware or something. I don't know, but there's not much left of that house. Okay, we have a picture of Sheepog generating station, and this article comes from a publication called Hydro Review. The title is Vermont Utility Enters Purchase Agreement for More Than 54 Gigawatt Hours of Hydropower in Connecticut. First Light announced a power purchase agreement with Burlington Electric Department. The agreement says First Light will deliver to Burlington, Vermont, more than 54 gigawatt hours of hydropower from First Light's Sheepog generating station in Connecticut. And what you see there is a picture of that smallish hydro dam. 54 gigawatt hours sounds like it's a huge amount of electric power. It is not really. If you consider a nuclear power plant might be a gigawatt, the old Connecticut Yankee plant was less than 2/3 of that. But 54 gigawatt hours is 54 hours of output from a 1 gigawatt plant. 54 hours is not a whole lot more than 2 days. So, it sounds like a huge amount of electricity. It's not. It's interesting, though, that the electricity is being generated in Connecticut and credited to northern Vermont. It's interesting that it's coming from this little hydro plant. I think Burlington Electric is getting its electricity from where it can and moving it to where it needs it. Obviously, electrons don't know where they're going. They don't know where they've been. The electricity flows through wires. I don't know that any electrons in Connecticut are actually reaching Burlington. That's pretty much an accounting thing. So let's go to the next story. We're up to Sunday, August 10th. By the way, if you want to go to geoharvey.com and get this story, for example, you could go to geoharvey.com and then use the calendar. Click on the calendar for August 10th. And among the stories that you'll find there will be this story. What you're seeing is a wind farm in Shaanxi, and the title of the source of this story is El País, which is the English edition. The title is The Rise of Renewable Energy Puts China on Track to End its CO2 Emissions Growth. As of 2024, China is currently the source of about 30% of all global emissions. But several groups of international analysts consider it possible that it has already reached its peak emissions, plural, thanks mainly to the massive rise of China's renewable energy. And I will add to this, I saw in the news today, because I visit the news very frequently, I saw in the news today that China is actually starting to apparently end its construction of coal-burning power plants, which obviously it has to do. And it is finding that it doesn't need the coal-burning power plants because it's getting more and more renewables. And these renewables are all over the place in China. They have their problems with transmission lines and things like that, getting the electricity from where it is generated to where it is needed. But that's all pretty simple when you consider the overall problem of renewable energy. When I say it's simple, it means that what I mean is it's a simple problem compared to nuclear fusion, for example. People have been saying that nuclear fusion is just 30 years down the road, and they've been saying it for my entire life almost, 70 years. So maybe more than 70 years. I'm about to turn 78. And I've been aware of the fact that there was nuclear fusion for as long as I can remember. I don't remember learning it, let me put it that way. I do remember knowing it when I was younger than 10. Okay, the next picture that we're going to look at is a picture of a Lilium evolare. And you can see what looks like, in this picture, you can see what looks like a jet airplane, except that you don't really see the wings. And the next problem with it is that it's on a circle with what looks like a walkway around it. There's no runway, and the reason there's no runway is because it doesn't need a runway. That particular aircraft is an eVTOL. It's a electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle. This is from Clean Technica. The title is Lilium Logging More Electric Jet Sales. Lilium is one of the leaders in the early electric vertical takeoff and landing market, electric vertical takeoff and landing, eVTOL. It seems to have one of the more appealing and practical aircraft designs, and it is breaking through barriers, or I should say flying over barriers, quicker. Lately, the big news is that it started logging sales. Now, what's happened here is that Lilium has started selling these aircraft. It got an order of 20 of them from Urban Link. And these aircraft are really good because they can land on heliports, which could be on the tops of skyscrapers, or they could be practically in the middle of a parking lot. You know, I mean, these aircraft can be landed, take off from just about anywhere. And they operate using jets, which is not like the jet that burns jet fuel. It's more like having a very powerful fan inside a tube. So that's where Lilium has been going. But having 20 of these aircraft sold to Urban Link, which is a recognized, fairly well-known where it operates company, is helpful to Lilium. Okay, the next picture that I have, and you can actually find this picture online by going to an article, and I don't have the actual name of the article, but it's something like gas explosions in the Merrimack Valley, or Merrimack Valley gas explosions, or something. It relates to gas explosions that happened in the Merrimack Valley, explosions and fires, both, that happened in 2018. This is from Clean Technica. The title is U.S. Fire Department Spend over $500 million on gas leak responses in 2018, study finds. A peer-reviewed study by scientists at PSE Healthy Energy estimates that U.S. fire departments spent over $564 million responding to gas leak incidents in 2018, just that 1 year. The cost for New York City was conservatively estimated at $70 million. Now, what happened with this particular house was that it was one of several houses in the Merrimack Valley that suffered from fires or explosions because of gas leaks that came because a gas line that was supposed to be carrying gas at 0.5 pound per square inch pressure was instead carrying gas at, I'm gonna say that the number I recall is 65 pounds per square inch. In other words, it was a huge multiple of what it was supposed to be. And this happened because a crew that was supposed to be doing a conversion was given a set of instructions on how to do it that did not include one vital step. And the result of that was that the apparatus that was sensing the pressure in the gas line sensed it wrong. And the result of that was that the pressure jacked up, and when it jacked up, there were houses that had pilot lights that were a foot tall. There were houses that had extremely minor gas leaks that nobody had noticed, that were just filling rooms with gas. Some of them exploded, some of them burned down. This house looks to me like it burned down, not exploded, but I could be wrong. But if you find the article at Wikipedia, it has this picture. Okay, we're up to Sunday, August 11th, and we have a picture of, there we go. We have a picture of Vermont. Doesn't that look homey? Okay, this is also from Clean Technica. The title of the article is it possible to have a friendly social medium platform? It is if you live in Vermont. Now, I want to explain that I included this article for its own value, and I think people should know about it. This does not have anything directly to do with energy or climate change, but it does have to do with Vermont. And it kind of explains how things can be done differently. And that could apply to energy and climate change. Okay, the synopsis says, if success is measured by creating places where people can come together to discuss matters that interest them, whether it's politics or the recipe for a strawberry rhubarb pie, unlike the drama of Facebook or X-Twitter, Front Porch Forum in Vermont is the model. And when I looked into this, did a little study of it, what I found, interestingly enough, was that very close to half of the households in Brattleboro have got somebody involved in Front Porch Forum. Now, it doesn't cost anything. You can just sign up. And you can sign up for, I think, any place in Vermont. And even it's moving into New York also, just across the border. I feel like saying international border, but it isn't international, really. Vermont is still part of the United States. The part of the deal with Front Porch Forum is you have to be registered by name and address, which means that if you say something, everybody's going to know who said it and where you live. If you say things that are offensive, you will be kicked off the platform. And it's a different forum is created for each neighborhood. I don't know how many neighborhoods there are in Brattleboro. There might be just one. But it's an interesting way of dealing with things, and it is a way that I think is developed well enough now that it can be used across platforms, across technologies, to do things in addition to just connecting people. And I think it's something to keep in mind. Anyway, for those who want to find out about it, you can go to this article in Clean Technica, and I did not write it. Anyway, the next picture, where are we? Here we. This is a picture of Paris, believe it or not. The article came from Clean Technica. Let me put the picture up. It says, the title is How Paris Created the, How Paris Cleaned Up the Seine and Created a Better City for its Citizens. In 2015, Paris launched its swimming plan. The 2024 Olympic deadline supercharged a Seine cleanup that had been decades in the making. It infused social, environmental, and economic benefits for Paris and the communities around it in the process. So what happened here, of course, was that the background for cleaning up the Seine was already in place well before they started working on goals that were the result of the Olympics being around. When the Olympics became immediately an event that would be coming immediately in the future, of course, things speeded up. The Olympics used the Seine for a lot, and they wanted to have it be a clean river. So it was important that they do this. All right, another article by from Clean Technica. In this particular case, we're looking at the Dubai Green Spine, which is a superhighway of sorts, except that you don't see cars on it because there's no cars on it. The title is Dubai Aims to Create World's Greenest Highway. Dubai is aiming to create the world's greenest highway, but we're not talking about 100% electric vehicles or EV chargers every mile or anything like that. No, it's about greenery and multimodal transport with an electric tram system powered by a solar farm, which will also power 130,000 homes. I have no idea how many homes there are in Dubai, but 130,000 homes is a pretty fair slice of the total. I can tell you that for sure. It's interesting that they're doing this. It's not just about transportation. There's a lot that includes transportation. You can see the tram in the background and people on bicycles, but I don't see any cars. Okay, we're up to Monday, August 12th. We have an article from MSN, and by the way, I find MSN difficult because it will post today, for example, an article was posted at MSN that was interesting, and I thought I might want to use it for my blog. And when I looked at it, I thought, wait a minute, this looks like something that happened some time ago. And it turned out that the article was 5 months old and it was just being reposted for whatever reason. And they do that a lot. So anyway, this particular story, what you're seeing there is the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, which has 6 reactors and is the largest the largest nuclear plant in Europe, and you will notice that there are cooling towers all the way over on the left there. And I think this story relates to one of those cooling towers. If not, it will be a cooling tower that is near them that you can't see. The title is Ukrainian Nuclear Power Plant Catches Fire. Zelensky accuses Russia. A Ukrainian nuclear power plant caught fire after Kyiv launched a cross-border assault into Russia. If you're familiar with the Ukrainian advances into Russia, this happened just after those advances started. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has accused Russian occupiers of trying to blackmail Ukraine after a fire broke out in a cooling tower in the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant. Actually, I should point out that he accused Russia and the Russians accused Ukrainians. I find it very difficult to believe that the Ukrainians set fire to the nuclear power plant because they are very well aware of what will happen to the Ukraine if there is a meltdown there. I looked at the maps. About half of Ukraine could become an unlivable place. Now, there are 6 reactors there. You could have, in the event of a meltdown, you could have one of the meltdown, you could have all 6 meltdown. It's unlikely that there would be a catastrophic meltdown at that particular plant because as I recall, none of the reactors is working. It might be that one of them is working, but I don't think any of them is. The problem is a nuclear power plant is not flexible, and it's hard to have it work at a fraction of its designed power. And if it's working, the electricity that it's generating has to go somewhere. There was a cooling tower with a lot of smoke coming out of it, and the people from the UN went in and they looked at where the fire had been after it was put out. They could see that it was not the result of a drone that would have flown into the cooling tower and caught fire. It also was not the result of artillery, because if it had been, the cooling tower would have been damaged, but it wasn't. And in fact, a test showed that the cooling tower could still operate after the fire. So I don't know what to make of that, but President Zelensky accused Russia. I happen to believe him because I just can't imagine that he would have been stupid enough to allow this to happen as a result of Ukrainian activity. And there is no evidence that I can see that Ukrainians had done something wrong. Okay, I want to go to the next picture, the next story. In this story, this is from Deseret News, and it is a picture of a coal-burning power plant. Those cooling towers there make it appear in some people's minds to be a nuclear power plant, but coal-burning power plants very often have them. Gas-burning power plants have them. A nuclear power plant could have very tall chimneys, but these chimneys are not like the chimneys that are at nuclear plants. They are chimneys that probably include scrubbers, which are there to take things out of the exhaust, like mercury, for example. But the thing that is a giveaway here is these things that angle upward from the lower left and toward the middle of the picture, but they angle upward, and they have distribution systems for carrying coal from the place where it's stored to the plant. I had said this is from Deseret News. The Title is "We All Pay a High Price for Refusing to Modernize." Rocky Mountain Power shocked Utah officials by requesting a 30% rate hike over the next 2 years, blaming half of that increase on the rising cost of coal. The officials should not have been shocked. They had passed a law to force Rocky Mountain Power to abandon plans to shift from coal to lower cost renewables. I don't know what people have in their minds, but they seem to think that you need baseload power, for example. And we don't need baseload power. So I will explain that. Maybe what I should say is it is possible to run a grid entirely on solar, wind, and batteries. Okay? It is not possible, not even possible, to run a grid entirely on baseload power, because baseload power refers to the minimum load that will be on that system over a period of time. And for a baseload power plant, that's probably the life of the plant. You can't run a grid on baseload power because baseload power will only provide you the minimum power that you need. Everything beyond that, beyond minimum and whatever demand there is, has to be added by something else. So with renewable power, you've got a lot of variation because solar, the sun doesn't always shine, the wind doesn't always blow. But with baseload power, you must have these other systems. Peak load following plants, peaker plants, things like that, that produce electricity that costs a lot. Okay, our next picture is a picture of Boeotia. I'm not going to try to pronounce it in Greek. I should be able to pronounce it, but I heard the pronunciation in Greek and it's like Voiotia. I tried to pronounce it in Greek. This is from ABC News, American Broadcast Corporation. Wildfire spreads near Athens in searing heat, prompting evacuations orders. Wildfires are burning near Athens amid scorching temperatures throughout Greece, emergency and weather officials said. Government officials warned of a high fire hazard in several areas, including the Athens Peninsula and the Boeotia region in the that is northwest of Athens. I should actually show you that so that you can see it. That's Boeotia or Voiotia or Boyo. I'm not going to do it. Okay, our next item is from Renews. And this is a picture of offshore wind power. The title here is RWE Wins Big with 4 Gigawatt German Tender Haul. RWE emerged as the big winner in the latest German offshore wind auction. The German developer has won 2 of the 3 sites on offer, with the Essen-based outfit taking 4 gigawatts of the 5.5 gigawatts up for grabs. The zones are in the 2 gigawatt N 9.1 and the 2 gigawatt N 9.2, both in the North Sea, 115 kilometers off Borkum. Now, at that range, you will not be able to see these things from shore. It's just too far away. It might be 75 miles. I did not figure out exactly what the distance is in miles, I'm sorry to say. But there it is. Okay, the next item And by the way, I should mention, I read today that they're putting more sites up for auction in the German area. Okay, now today we have a picture of Ocean X platform. This is well, the article comes from the Maritime Executive, and the title is China deploys massive dual rotor floating wind power platform. Now that is a floating platform, which is why you see it near a port. It looks like it's being towed out to sea. This is what they do with floating wind turbines. They build the tower and the wind turbine and the whole thing at a port, and then they haul it out to sea. They tow it out to sea, set it up at the place where it's going to be, anchor it, and go from there. The synopsis says, China's Mingyang Smart Energy has begun the deployment of a unique floating point wind turbine structure. The company says the Ocean X platform is the world's largest floating wind power platform. Its maximum output, so this is the capacity of this thing, is expected to reach 16.6 megawatts. And that 16.6 megawatts means that each of the two rotors is 8.3 megawatts. And my recollection is that the largest single rotor wind turbine is 16 megawatts. So this is a little bit larger in terms of its capacity than the largest single rotor turbine. So that's what that is all about. Okay, we have a picture of, whoops, there we go. We have a picture of a possible Tennessee mega campus. This article is from Clean Technica. Let me put this up. The title is U.S. is now a global leader in attracting EV investments. This is not a battery farm or something like that. What you're looking at here is a rendering of what a mega campus for making EVs and their batteries might be like. The U.S. is the top nation for attracting investments in EVs and battery making, surpassing announced investments in other countries globally. Companies plan $312 billion in investments in the U.S., up from about $75 billion when President Joe Biden took office in 2021. So what we're talking about here is the increase in the investments that are expected. When Joe Biden took office, it was $75 billion in EVs and batteries. Now it's $312 billion. That's a pretty big increase in less than 4 years. Okay, I'm going to go on. Yeah, I'm going to go on. We are up to Wednesday, August 14th, and we have a picture of a hydrogen fuel cell concept car by Toyota. And this is not a new car. This is a car that's about 10 or 12 years old. The picture is about 10 or 12 years old. The article is from the Japan Times, and the title is Why Almost Nobody is Buying Green Hydrogen. This particular car that you're looking at would use hydrogen for fuel. As a carbon-free fuel, hydrogen's potential has provoked no end of excitement. The gas can be produced cleanly by using wind or solar power in a process that splits it from water. Water is H2O. You take two water molecules zap them with some electricity, and they'll divide into 2 hydrogen molecules, each H2, and 1 oxygen molecule, O2. But the vast majority of the projects don't have a single customer stepping up to buy the fuel. This is a serious problem. It's a problem that I have been talking about, I've been mentioning on this show for at least several years. Green hydrogen is something that people are investing billions of dollars in. Again, it's because, I think, it's because they can't see that the fuel that is being created, they can't see that solar and wind power with batteries is going to provide baseload power. They think that we need baseload power when we don't. We don't need baseload power. And the idea of going to hydrogen for baseload power is extremely attractive if you believe that we need baseload power. I don't think we need baseload power at all. I don't think we need coal, gas, or nuclear. We just don't. And so I'm a little disappointed that hydrogen has been taken so seriously by people with so much money. Why don't they take me seriously and give me money? Or you? Why don't they give you money? But they're putting money into hydrogen when they could be putting money into solar, wind, batteries. We're going to have a story next week, I believe, on a battery project that's going up in Maine. It will be the world's biggest battery in terms of the energy that it stores, not in terms of its output power, but in terms of the energy that it will store. Lithium-ion batteries will store energy for 4 hours typically. And what that means is, at their rated output, they can output electricity for 4 hours. They can output, if they're putting out half of their rated output, they can output it for twice as long. But in this particular case, it's an 85 megawatt battery, and it's not a 4-hour output, it's a 100-hour output, which means it is 8.5 gigawatt hours that it will output at 85 megawatts. That's 100 hours that it will output. And that, I think, is a more reliable source than hydrogen fuel. Okay, the next item here is the picture is a picture of solar panels and flowers. And the article is from Clean Technica, and the title is SEIA Statement on President Biden's Action to Support U.S. Manufacturers of Solar Cells. President Biden issued a proclamation to raise the Section 201 tariff rate quota for imported solar cells from 5 gigawatts annually to 12.5 gigawatts annually. Quote, SEIA, which is the Solar Energy Institute of America, I believe, strongly recommends President Biden's decisive action to support American solar module manufacturers, end quote. There's a strong sense of a need for modules that come from overseas. He has increased the amount that he will allow in, but he's not doing it enough to be threatening to solar manufacturers in the United States. When Donald Trump was in office, he put the high tariffs on Chinese goods, ostensibly to protect American solar panel manufacturers or solar cell manufacturers who had been forced out of business. Please note, they had already gone out of business and he was protecting them. I can't make sense of it. Anyway, that's the statement from the SEIA. And we have our final article, picture of solar panels on the roof of the building. This is from the U.S. Department of Energy. I'm sorry, charging an F-150 Lightning in Texas. This is from Clean Technica also. Ford and TXU, which is, TXU is the utility, offer Texas residents free EV charging during off-peak hours. Ford and TXU Energy announced they have teamed up to create a first-of-its-kind retail energy offering for Ford electric SUV and truck customers in Texas. The program offers Ford EV drivers the opportunity to charge their vehicle at home entirely for free. And this is, I've seen this kind of thing before. There's a utility in Texas. Oh, I can't remember the name. It starts with an O. But anyway, it's a utility in Houston or something like that. And they decided several years ago that they were going to offer people who signed up for 100% wind power, which meant they paid a little extra during the daytime for their electricity. At night, from 9 p.m. until 6 a.m., they could have all the electricity they could get for free. So if they had an EV, they could charge it at night for free. But if they had a battery, they could fill the battery for free. And the reason was because wind power had become extremely cheap. Now, and I wish all of you have an unimaginably gorgeous week. So, goodbye. See you next time.